Hello students, how are you all? I hope you all are doing well in your studies. So today I am here to start with the chapter number 2 of history, and the name of this chapter is the regional kingdoms. So get the ball rolling. North India, administration during this period, South India, Turkish invasion, the Deccan. History terms. Tripartite struggle. When three parties are involved in a common struggle over one particular object or place. Sultan, an Arabic term meaning ruler. Terrain, an extensive plain. Haryana famous for many battles in medieval period. North India. The word Rajputs come from the Sanskrit word Rajputra, which means son of a king. Historians have different opinions regarding their origin. Some believe that they were descendants of the Central Asian tribes and settled in India after the Hun invasion. At its peak, the Rajput Empire extended from Haryana to Ajmer and from Jaipur in the east to Jodhpur in the west. Prithviraj Chauhan, the best known Chauhan ruler, was the legendary Prithviraj Chauhan, who ascended the throne in AD 1177. Prithviraj was a brave warrior. His life has been immortalized by the poet Chand Bardai in his famous poem Prithviraj Raso. In the poem, Chand Bardai describes how Prithviraj Chauhan loved and abducted the daughter of Raja Jayachandra of Kannauj. Prithviraj challenged Muhammad Ghori, the Turkish invader, in the first battle of Terrain. In the following year, however, Prithviraj was defeated by Ghori in the second battle of Terrain. This defeat could have been avoided if Jayachandra of Kannauj has joined force with Prithviraj. However, Jayachandra, still angry at the abduction of his daughter, refused to come on Prithviraj Chauhan's help. This battle is believed to be a turning point in the history of India. Tomars of Delhi. The Tomars rulers founded the city Dhilika, Delhi, in the 8th century. Later, the Chauhans annexed their kingdom. Solankis of Gujarat. The Solanki were also known as the Chalukyas of Gujarat. Siddharaja was the most powerful ruler. The Dilwara temple at Mount Abu and the Sun temple at Modhera, Gujarat were built by the Solanki rulers. Parmars of Malwa. The Parmars of Malwa ruled from their capital at Dhar, near Indore. They became famous in the time of Raja Bhoj. He was not only a great warrior but also a famous scholar and patron of literature. He was defeated and killed by the neighboring rulers. Chandelas of Bundelkhand. The Chandelas were the rulers of the land between the Yamuna and Narmada rivers. Khajuraho was the capital of the Chandela rulers. It has many beautiful temples built by the Chandelas. Kirtivarman was the most powerful ruler of the dynasty. The Palas. In Bengal, a period of confusion seems to have prevailed after the death of Harsha. In AD 750, the people elected Gopala as their rulers. His son Dharampala founded the Pala dynasty, AD 775 to 810. Under Dharampala and his son Devapala, the Pala kingdom grew to include present-day Bengal, Bihar and parts of Odisha, New Odisha. One of the later Pala kings, Mahipala, was defeated by the Chola king Rajendra Chola in AD 1023. The Palas were Buddhists. They were the last major Indian dynasty to embrace Buddhism. The university at Nalanda received the patronage of the Palas. Dharampala established a famous Buddhist monastery and college at Vikramshila. After the fall of the Palas in the 12th century AD, the Sena dynasty ruled over Bengal and the East until AD 1245. The Gujras and Pratiharas. The Gujrats Pratiharas ruled over parts of Rajasthan and Gujarat. The most powerful ruler was Bhoj, 836 to 882. He conquered Kannauj and made it his capital. He was succeeded by his son Mahendrapala. He expanded the empire further. His successors, however, were weak and could not defend the kingdom from invasions. In 1018, Muhammad Ghazni defeated the Pratihara ruler. Soon, the dynasty came to an end. So, let's connect to history. Kannauj was the main center of a political development in North India during the period of King Harshvardhana, since it was accessible by the river Ganga and Yamuna. Its location enabled easy trade relations. Kannauj was rich in soil and attracted the neighboring dynasties. Hence, there was a long battle between the Gujrats, the Rashtrakutas, and the Palas to control the Ganga Valley in general and Kannauj in particular. This struggle is known as tripartite struggle by the historians. Administration during this period. The king was the supreme authority in the kingdom. He assumed titles such as Parambatarak and Maharaja Adhiraj to convey his power and might. He was the commander-in-chief of the army and was assisted by a council of ministers who advised him on various matters. The most important minister was known as Mahamantri. Each department had separate ministers such as the Sandhi Vigharika, foreign minister, Bhandagarika, office of the government store, Kotapal, inspector of forts, Akash Patalika, revenue minister, Mahapratihara, guard of the royal palaces, Mahasenapati, commander of the army, and the Rajpurohita, royal priest. The kingdom was divided into units called bhukets, which were further divided into vishayas. The governor looked after the administration of the bhuktis, while the Vishayapati was responsible for the Vishaya. The smallest unit was the village under the village headman or the Grampati. The villages had committees to look after local schools, water tanks, temples and roads. They worked in cooperation with the village headman. Village and town administration. The village was the basic unit of administration, the headman and account of the village. Also known as the Grampati, carried out administrative responsibilities. There were village committees which looked after schools, roads, water tanks, temples, etc. in conjunction with the Grampati. In towns, there were similar committees where the heads of trade guide were associated with administration. Law and order issues in towns and neighboring areas were addressed by the Kotwal. Military organization. The armed forces played a crucial role in the expansion and maintenance of the empire. Besides a strong infantry and cavalry, a large number of war elephants were also maintained. The largest number of elephants were maintained by the Pala rulers, while the Gujarat Pratihara dynasty had the finest cavalry in the country. The Rashtrakutas rulers had a large number of forts garrisoned by special troops. Social life. The caste system formed the basis of social life during this period, along with the Brahmins, priests, the Rajput, Kshatriyas enjoyed the highest status in the society, while the Vaishyas, traders and merchants played a significant role in local administration. There was decline in the position of women during this period. Sati and child marriage was practiced. Polygamy was also common. Economy. Agriculture was the main occupation of the people. Trade relations with China, Southeast Asia and Western world flourished during this period. The main items of export were spices, textiles and precious stones, while the main imports comprised horses, precious metals and stones. Merchants operated through guild known as Shrenis. The chiefs of the guilds, called Shreshtins, occupied important parts in city administration. The Deccan. The area between the Narmada and Krishna river is known as the Deccan. The Rashtrakutas were very powerful here. The Rashtrakutas. In Sanskrit, the word Rashtra means territory and Kuta means chieftain. The Rashtrakutas were chieftains in central India before assuming the position of an independent ruling dynasty in the Deccan. They rose to prominence under Danti Durga, 752 to 56 CE, the founder of the dynasty. By defeating the Chalukyas of Badami, his capital was at Malkhed, near modern Sholapur in Maharashtra. Rashtrakuta rulers were the administrators and great warriors. Their invisible armies overran the territories from Cape Comorin to Kannauj and from Banaras to Bharuch. They fought the Palas and the Pratiharas and also came into conflict with the Pallavas of Kanchipuram. Danti Durga was succeeded by his uncle Krishna I. He extended his kingdom up to Karnataka. Dhruva and Govinda III extended the empire further. Amogha I ruled for 64 years from 814 to 878. The Rashtrakutas were overthrown in 973 by a Chalukya's noble. Rashtrakutas' ruler not only patronized Salvism and Vaishnavism but also Jainism, Buddhism and Islam. So now let's connect to history. During the Rashtrakutas' rule, artisans and craftsmen operated as guilds. The Sandhoti inscription referred to a district headed by the guilds of the region. Some guilds were considered superior to others. These guilds also had their own group of armed men to protect goods in transit. Chalukyas of Kalyani. The Chalukyas of Kalyani were also known as the later Chalukyas or the Western Chalukyas. The greatest ruler was Vikramanka. He and his successor built many temples at Aihole, Badami and Patadakal. The Kakatiyas ruled in the 12th and 13th centuries. Their kingdom lay between the Godavari and Krishna rivers. Marco Polo tells us that the Kakatiyas rulers were followers of Shaivism, though Jainism and Vaishnavism also flourished. The rulers patronized Sanskrit and Telugu. In the early 14th century, the kingdom was conquered by the Sultans of Delhi. South India. There were three powerful kingdoms in the south: the Pallavas, the Pandyas and the Cholas. There were a constant struggle for supremacy amongst them. The Pallavas. Pallavas ruled the South India during this period, 6th century and 8th century AD. Their capital city was Kanchi. Pallavas were great patrons of art and architecture. Mahendravarman and Narasimhavarman were the most powerful rulers. The Shore temple at Mahabalipuram and Kailashnath temple at Kanchi were constructed by the Pallavas. The Pandyas. The Pandya ruled the region around present-day Madurai, which was their capital. It was an important center of learning. Marco Polo visited the Pandyan kingdom. He has left a detailed account of his visit. The kingdom declined in the 14th century. So, let's see the case study of the Cholas. The Cholas established a powerful empire in South India, and this is why they are known as the Imperial Cholas. They ruled in South India for nearly 4 centuries. Tanjore, now called Thanjavur, was their capital. Vijayalaya, 846 to 871, was the first Chola ruler. He ruled the region north of river Kaveri. Parantaka I conquered Madurai from the Pandyas. He was, however, defeated by the Rashtrakutas king Krishna III in the Battle of Takolam in 949. Rajaraja Chola and Rajendra Chola made the Cholas the greatest power of South India. Rajaraja Chola 985 to 1016. Rajaraja Chola, also called Rajaraja I, was a brilliant commander. He defeated the Pandyas and the Cheras. He built a strong navy to control trade along the coastal areas. The Cholas' fleet captured parts of Ceylon, Sri Lanka and the Maldives Islands. Rajendra Chola. Rajendra Chola was a Rajaraja's son. He succeeded his father to the throne. Rajendra Chola made the empire even more powerful. His army defeated the Cheras, the Chalukyas and marched as far north as modern-day West Bengal, where he defeated the Pallas. After this victory, Rajendra Chola called himself Gangaikonda Chola, which means one who conquered places up to the river Ganga. He also built new capital near Tanjore and called it Gangaikonda Cholapuram. Rajendra Chola's most enduring campaign was in Southeast Asia. For centuries, Indian merchants had been trading with various parts of Southeast Asia and southern China. Indian ships had to pass through the Straits of Molucca, which was controlled by the kingdom of Srivijaya. The merchants of Srivijaya did not allow Indian ships and merchants to sail in this region. Many of these merchants were from the Chola kingdom. They appealed to Rajendra Chola for help. He sent his fleet and defeated the Srivijaya king. So trade with Southeast Asia and southern China made the Chola kingdom very wealthy. The successor of Rajendra Chola continued to fight against the neighboring kingdoms. The continuous conflicts defeated the treasury and weakened the Chola power considerably. The empire declined towards the end of the 13th century. The Chola administration. The Chola administration was well organized. The king was the head and was assisted by minister, and they had a very efficient armed force consisting of cavalry, infantry, elephants and a good navy. The empire was divided into mandalams and valandus, provinces and districts, consisting of many villages. The administration was carried out by the village assemblies called Ursabha and Nagaram. Ur was the village assembly, Sabha was the assembly of learned people, and Nagaram consisted of merchants, traders and artisans. This is evident to show that they had a good local self-government. The ultra-mirror inscription gives details of the Chola administration. The Chol society, Brahmins were respected a lot as they were learned. Next to them, the merchants were respected because of their wealth. The other people were artisans, farmers, craftsmen and workers. Women were treated with honor. The Chola literature. Many literary and religious works were translated from Sanskrit into Tamil, Telugu and Kannada. Kamban, the great writer of this period, wrote the Ramayana in Tamil. The Mahabharata was translated into Telugu. Pampa, Pona and Rana were the three jewels of Kannada literature. Read this inscription about a land grant given to a Brahmana by a Chola king. By erecting mounds and planting cactus, we mark the boundaries of the land. Fruit trees, water, gardens, pastures, open spaces, villages, sites, canals, tanks, granaries, fish ponds, beehives and all the taxes that were collected from this land which used to go to the king shall now be made over to this man. The old tenants are evicted. He can dig wells, plant trees, erect walls with burnt bricks, not to waste water but to dam it for irrigation. Temple architecture. Temples became the center of life during the Chola reign. They were not only place of worship but also a center for economic, political and cultural activities. The chief feature of a Chola temple is the Vinama or the Tower. The Brihadswara temple built by Rajaraja Chola comprises 13 stories and is crowded by a single block of granite. Turkish invasion. The Rajputs were caught unaware by the Turks and Afghans who invaded India towards the end of the 10th century AD. The Turks along with Afghans came into India through passes in the mountains of northwest. The Ghaznavids. From 1000 onwards, many invaders entered India across the mountains passes in the northwest. Mahmud, the ruler of Ghazni, led to the first series of invasions. Mahmud of Ghazni. Mahmud was the ruler of Ghazni, now in Afghanistan. He needed a large army to make Ghazni the most powerful kingdom in the region. He had heard about the wealth of the kingdoms of northern India, so he decided to raid India to collect money to raise a large army. In a span of 26 years, 1000 to 1026, Mahmud invaded India 17 times. His early raids were against the Hindu Shahi rulers of Punjab. He defeated Jaipal and Anandpal and got a large tribute from them. He also attacked the rich temple towns of India. He raided Mathura and Kannauj in 1018 and Somnath in 1026. The Somnath temple in Gujarat was stripped of all its wealth. Even the precious stones embedded in the temple walls were taken out. Mahmud carried away all the booty to Ghazni, where he built a beautiful mosque, library and museum. Mahmud died in 1030. The Ghurids. Like Ghazni, Ghor was a small kingdom in present-day Afghanistan. Mahmud Ghazni has defeated the ruler of Ghor and had made him his vassal. After Mahmud's death, however, the Ghaznavids became weak. Taking advantage of this, Muizzuddin Mahmud made Ghor independent once again. He also annexed all Ghaznavid territories. Muizzuddin Muhammad is popularly known as in history as Muhammad Ghori. Muhammad Ghori AD 1162 to 1206. Muhammad Ghori was a general under the Ghori dynasty. Ghor in Afghanistan was a vassal state of the Ghazni Empire. When the Ghazni started weakening, the Ghori declared their independence in AD 1160. In AD 1173, Muhammad Ghori became governor of the province of Ghazni. He then conquered Multan, Peshawar and Lahore. That brought him into conflict with Prithviraj Chauhan of Delhi. As seen earlier, he inflicted a crushing defeat on Prithviraj in the Second Battle of Terrain in AD 1192 and established the beginning of Muslim rule in India. The main reason for the success of the Turk in India was the lack of unity among the Rajput chiefs. Also, the Turkish army was better organized, better led and better mounted than the Indian forces. Causes of the defeat of the Indian rulers. The research shows that the Turks did not have superior weapons, but their horses were fast and the archers were skilled. On the other hand, the elephants of the Indian rulers were very slow. Both the Muslim rulers were efficient and good commanders. The Turks were well trained. The Indian rulers were not united and did not have a common plan of action. Al-Biruni, who came to India as a traveler, has given a report about the society and his observation. He wrote a book on India called the Kitabul Hind. However, the invasion had its impact on the society. It led to intermingling of culture and tradition, and it also paved way for the spread of the Islamic culture. So students, it's time to wrap up. By the 7th century, big landlords or warrior chiefs gained great importance in the kingdom. There was a rise of many small kingdoms in northern India such as Gujarat, Paramars, Pratiharas, Palas and Rashtrakutas during the medieval period. There was a long struggle known as a tripartite to acquire Kannauj among the three Rajput kings. The Rashtrakutas were able to administrators and great warriors in the Deccan. The Chalukyas built many temples at Aihole, Badami and Patadakal. The first and second battle of Tarain were fought between Prithviraj Chauhan and Muhammad Ghori in 1191 CE and 1192 CE respectively. Between 1000 to 1026, North India was invaded 17 times by Muhammad of Ghazni. In South India, the Chola dynasty flourished under Rajaraja and Rajendra Chola. Pallavas ruled South India during the period of 6th century and 8th century AD. So students, it's time to take your leave. We'll meet in the next class. Bye.